Hello, my name is Hakon, and welcome back, all you fabulous fighting fantasy aficionados, for yet another episode of Fighting Fantasy Fun and Frolics as we play Phantoms of Fear for the fifth time, something like that. The thing is now, so much time passes between each time that I keep forgetting which episode we are on. Um, anyway, as you might remember from last time, I decided that at this point I may or may not have followed the correct path until I get to the underground lair of Ishtra, the demon prince who's trying to take over the world, and you are the only one who can stop him, kind of thing in this book. And so I'm going to start today from the point where you enter into the underground lair and see where that takes me, because that will give me an indication of whether I have actually followed the right path to get to the lair, and if I picked up the right items, picked up the right clues and hints, and if I know everything I need to know to defeat him. So that's what I'll do today. I'm going to start from that point and see where that takes me. So yeah, I'll just get started, I think, and yeah, see what happens. So yeah, I'll just need to transition now to my. Yes, there we are. So I've got my supplies ready, as I like calling them. Got my book, got my character sheet, which is quite messy because I've been using the same one through all of these playthroughs of this particular book. Excuse me, I got my dice, got my pen, and I don't have a cup of tea today. I haven't been drinking that much tea lately, actually, but I got well, some water in a bottle. Right. Um, So I'll just get started. I got my maps, of course, I forgot to say. I got my maps, and it's only really the last two sheets of map that are relevant at the moment. I'm just gonna remove the other ones. So it's these two, because this is where you go into the underground lair, and then you take it from there. Not sure exactly what my stats are supposed to be as I enter the underground bit. I can't remember that now. I should have checked before I started playing. But the thing is, once I get to this rather late stage of playing a game book, I'm not too focused on the stats or the dice. At this point, I'm really just what's left of it that is fun for me is trying to solve the puzzle of finding the right path through. And so those things are less relevant. Now, I do absolutely expect to be disturbed while playing this game because I have been promised I'm supposed to get a delivery between 10 and 11. It's 5 minutes to 11 now, so that's probably late. And most likely I'm going to get a phone call as well. So you will have to bear with me. Of course, I will cut out the relevant bits from the video, but that means might be some abrupt cuts, and it might distract me from playing the game, which isn't ideal, but it's just the way it is. Right, I'll just get started. So maybe just a quick recap, perhaps, just a sort of a little what's going on in this book for those who haven't watched it before. Although, really, if you really should be watching the earlier episodes. But the thing is, you are in this book. You are a wood elf, and a wood elf who has the power of dreaming. You some kind of sort of a not quite a magician, but a sort of a shaman, but something sort of similar to it. And you're sort of a protector of the tribe of your elves. And you get a dream telling you that the gods have chosen you and you alone to go and deal with a blight that has been wreaking havoc in the forest, killing the animals, killing the trees, etc., etc. And only you can stop it. And what's causing it is the return of the demon prince Ishtra, who was defeated many years ago, hundreds of years ago, something like that. But of course, he wasn't completely dead, he was just defeated, and he is coming back. And you have to go to his underground lair, which is the source of the blight, and you have to defeat him. And doing this is something you can do with your prowess as an elf. And one of the things you can do is to control your dreams and also affect change in the real world through the dreams as well, which is quite an interesting mechanic that is unique to this particular book, I think. Or certainly in the Fighting Fantasy series, I would say. I'm sure there are other game books by now that would have used a system inspired by this or by other things where you can control dreams. Obviously, it's not a concept that is entirely unique to this Fighting Fantasy book. It's been used in other fiction and films before. There was an 80s film, I think, or late 70s film called Dreamscape, for instance, where somebody was able to control dreams. More recently, of course, there's what's it called again? The one with Leonardo DiCaprio, Inception. That's the one. So yeah, it's an interesting concept, the concept of dreams and dream control, and one that actually I found quite captivating when I had this book the first time back in the 80s. But at the time, this book I really struggled with as quite a young reader of English because I hadn't had English that long in school by the time I got this, and the language in this book and the length of the paragraphs is such that I was actually struggling a little bit to get into it, I think, at the time. And now, when I can read Shakespeare and stuff, yeah, not so much of a problem. So I'm just going to get started then on paragraph 350 and see where that takes us. So at this point we are reaching the underground lair. So let's see what's happening. Okay. As soon as you step between the pillars, of course, pillars, the gate to the underground lair, your trained sixth sense picks up an important feature of Ishtra's underground domain. This is a place where the dream world and the real world overlap. You can travel through these tunnels in either world. Thus, throughout this final lap of your adventure, you could try to get to Ishtra entirely in the dream world or entirely in the real world. Or you could flip from one world to the other. Most remarkably, when you travel in the dream world in Ishtra's domain, your physical body moves too. It is not like being asleep, when your body remains in the same place. It is rather that, even though you are actually walking along, your awareness is only of the dream world. You are like a sleepwalker. Apart from the different adventures the two worlds offer, it should be noted that there are advantages and disadvantages to them both. For instance, you cannot expect to acquire physical artifacts in the dream world. On the other hand, while you are in the dream world, your physical body is invisible, but not immaterial in the real world. It should also be noted that when you cross from the dream world to the real world, you may be disorientated and not know exactly where you are in the tunnels. Because sometimes the dream is just completely, this is actually quite confusing when you play it, and something that I feel also might ruin the feeling of immersion you get from this book, because the storyline, the narrative that you follow in the dream world is so different to the real world tunnels that the disconnect makes it feel like you get disconnected from the experience of playing the story. But we'll get back to that when we find something like that in this particular playthrough. There was some in the last one where you are in a tunnel and then you decide to go into the dream world, and then suddenly you're sort of riding a worm or something in a sand desert. Yeah, like in June. Anyway, whenever a real world paragraph is marked by an asterisk, you can choose to flip to the dream world by subtracting 20 from the paragraph number and turning to that new reference. Whenever a dream world paragraph is marked by hash, you can choose to flip to the real world by adding 50. So subtracting 20 or adding 50 to that paragraph number and turning to that new reference. You can flip from one world to the other in this way, whatever other choices the paragraph offers. You will be offered the opportunity to flip only when it is feasible to do so. For now, you step cautiously down the tunnel ahead of you. Turn to 362. You come to a fork in the tunnel at the point where two passages meet yours. A large stone statue faces you, which you recognize as a cryosphinx, a ram-headed sphinx. As soon as you draw near, portcullises slam down to block off the ways onward, and the cryosphinx speaks in a stone-cold voice. The left route leads further, the right to sudden death. You know that Sphinx's words are never quite what they seem. Or do you take the path to your left or to your right? And we've been through this one a few times before, and there's a clue in the way that the options are given there. It says to your left or to your right. The clue being, of course, that or the hint I usually call it, because I like to distinguish between clues and hints. That it's the relative position left and right that is going to be the Sphinx's words. So it says that the left route leads further, and that is his left, which means that I have to go to my right and turn to 151. You think that the trick is in the Sphinx's words is that since it is facing you, what is left from its point of view is right from yours. So you approach the tunnel to your right. The portcullis rises. You step under it with bated breath and proceed down the tunnel. You are safe for the moment. There is the tramp of marching feet up ahead, but the sound is getting fainter. You will not have to test your disguise immediately. That is true, actually. I forgot to mention, of course, because this was just before you entered the tunnels. The last thing that happened before you find the tunnel or the cave is that you fight some dark elves, which is quite a hard battle to fight, actually. There's lots of them. And at the end of that battle, when you are victorious, then you will put on one of the dark elf soldiers' clothes as a disguise. So yeah, that's what the story is. Oh, my camera seems to be wobbling. I'm just going to do like that, and it should be wobble less. Yeah. The thing is, what makes the cameras wobble is if the cable is touching something that wobbles. So of course now when I'm moving around, my desk is wobbling a little bit, and if the cable to my camera is then resting too much or with a little bit of pressure against my computer screen, then the vibrations from my desk goes into the computer screen, goes into the cables, go into the camera, and then it starts wobbling. There you go. So yeah, I do try to keep the cable sort of attached to something to prevent that from happening, but I forgot to clip the yeah, the cable is a bit short, so I'm just trying to rest it on the cables for my overhead camera now, which are clipped to the wall to prevent that from happening. Anyway, right. So you'll not have to test your disguise immediately. The tunnel ends at a large, well-lit cavern. There are several other tunnels leading off the cavern, and that's too many caverns in a single paragraph here. While you wait and watch, a company of orcs emerges from one tunnel, crosses the cavern, and goes down another tunnel. And there's lots of tunnels as well. There's three tunnels, and five caverns. You watch for 10 more minutes, and two more patrols pass through the cavern. There's a large pile of ancient bones close to one wall of the cavern. Will you go over to them or carry on watching? Okay, so that is the most cavernous paragraph ever, which is terrible writing, by the way. But yes, there you go. We could at least put some pronouns in there, would have been useful. Anyway, do you want to go over to them? And I do believe that is what I usually do, and that seems to be the right thing to do. So I'm going to keep doing that as well. At the moment, still going on the same path I did last time. Once you are fairly well hidden behind the bones, you start to wonder what they are doing there. They are too old to be the refuse of the tunnel's present occupants. You see cloven skulls and other signs that these people did not die peacefully in their sleep. You also see that the skeletons are mainly human. It dawns on you that these must be the remains of a force that fought against the legions of evil in the Great War which ravaged Kul centuries ago. That's when Ishtar was defeated the first time. In the past, these tunnels have seen bloody combat. It heartens you that these underground warrens were once home to such heroes. Maybe there are traces of good left in this nest of evil. It could be worth your while to explore a bit. Add one lock point and turn to 84. So there's good left. Does that mean that there are items of goodness that will help you defeat evil, or that there might be entities of good that might help you defeat evil. Not quite sure yet, but we'll figure it out. So 84. Got an asterisk, so I could change to the dream world now if I want to. You cannot stay here forever. You can easily find a time when the cavern is empty of patrols to enter one of the other tunnels, but which one? There are 4 to choose between, not counting the one you have recently come from, and by now you have seen patrols either emerging from or entering all 4 tunnels. While you are pondering the matter, the 2 patrols emerge from 2 of the tunnels and go down the other 2. You reckon that the tunnels they have just come from are now likely to be more clear. Would you take the northern tunnel or the western one? So, this one in the past, I have changed to the dream world and sort of, ended up somewhere not quite. Let's see. I just want to see here if there's. Maybe I should change to the dream world again here and see if there's anything else interesting going on, because obviously I've just been one of these places before. In the dream world. So I'm going to change to the dream world. So I'm going to deduct 20 from the number of 84 and go to 64 and see what happens there. The view before you twists and heaves. Is it the entrails of some immense monster or the coils of a serpent? And then, while you watch, it changes again into a sinister landscape of wild country with waterways running through it. It strikes you that what you see here parallels the real world of tunnels, but on a much larger scale. A narrow tunnel becomes a wide river. A solid rock between tunnels becomes bizarre and bloated countryside. While the dream world retains this much similarity to the real world, you had better choose which way to go. Would you follow a river which runs west, east, north, or northeast? So, in the past, the first time I got into Istra's lair, I went with the northeast, and I'm not sure exactly what happened at the end there. Am I right in thinking that... Yeah, I got to this really weird puzzle that is a lot harder than it looks, and I think it might even be even harder than whoever came up with it thinks it is. So, yeah, anyway. I'm going to avoid that if I can. But maybe I'll go... So in the past, I've gone west in the real world, that is. I got north in the real world. I got northeast in the dream world. Maybe I'll try north. Yeah, go with north. So its north is 365. And now I'm using my blue pen to do the mapping for the dream world, so I can distinguish between them, which is what I've tried to do consistently throughout these playthroughs. The river winds quite a lot, but at least it remains a river in your dream. You walk along the left bank. You have no idea of time. You could have been walking here for a minute or a year. The surface of the water is occasionally broken by some monster. Nothing attacks you, but the general atmosphere is one of fear, of expecting something unpleasant to happen at any moment. Over to your left, you see a silver tower. Its architecture is weird and unfamiliar. It looks as though many rings have been placed one on top of another, with the largest at the base. Although the sky is overcast, the tower glints as if it were reflecting sunlight. There is something at the top of the tower, but you cannot see what it is. A weather vane, perhaps. Would it go over towards the tower, or carry on along the river? So, this is where my mapping eventually is going to break down as being a little bit on the cramped side, but there we go. So I'm going to go 192 or 266 tower river. So I'm going to check out the tower, of course, because we are curious. When you get close enough to the tower, you can see what it is on top of it, even though the pinnacle seems to be kilometers above you. It is a dark sickle moon. While you're looking up, something crashes into you with extreme force. You have been hit by a corpse which is hanging from the moon by a long, long rope and is whirling around the circular tower like some demented puppet. Before your eyes, the tower shrinks and changes into a gallows. The corpse stops swinging and jumps slightly to the ground. Its agility now seems the most frightening thing of all. Its face is now a skull, with its teeth chattering in anticipation, as it tries to embrace you in kinship. You struggle to get free, and your struggles propel you back to the riverbank. Lose one power point, not pint. I like a power pint, please. Yeah, and turn to 192. So that is something you shouldn't do. So -1 power. Red on my map. Do not do that. 192. But you are no longer on a riverbank. You were about to enter a copse of weeping willows, where strange fairy lights flickered and beckoned, but before you got there, the scene changed. They didn't tell me that last time, and that's actually a slight sort of text flow thing there. It doesn't seem like that flows from the previous paragraph. Because you follow the river, and then the next thing it says, but you are no longer on the riverbank. Kind of weird. That's dreams for you, though. I mean, dreams do behave like that, don't they? Anyway. You see the village of your home, but all is far from peaceful. Your family and friends have gone berserk and are rushing around slashing at trees, animals, and one another. At first you're just watching the scene with mounting horror, but then you find yourself among your folk, trying to restrain them. They turn on you, and somehow all their bodies merge and form the head of a fearsome tiger. The arc of its saber teeth. Tigers don't have saber teeth. And there is no such thing as a saber-toothed tiger. Just have to point that out that every time that comes up. Has the same shape as its sluggish serpentine body. Will you fight the monster or not? Okay, so 2 options. Fighting or not fighting? That is the question. But which is nobler in the mind? To suffer the sabers and bites of imaginary tigers? Let's see. So fight or not. I don't know. I'm going to not fight it, actually. You hesitate to strike a blow against your family and friends, but these are not really your family and friends. Actually, that's not why I hesitated. And the serpentine dream-spawned cat sinks its fangs into you, lose 1 power point, and turn to 231. So -1 power. This is probably then not the right thing to do as well. And then you go to 231. 231. You find yourself back on the riverbank among the willow trees. The fairy lights still flicker on and off. You walk through the copse, but it becomes more than a copse. You lose sight of the river and are lost among dense undergrowth. A clinging, claustrophobic feeling clamps down on your chest. The fairy lights have become baneful yellow eyes glinting in the undergrowth. Your gaze is drawn to one pair of eyes in particular, and your eyes lock into these yellow ones. An unspoken voice seems to suggest quite calmly that you remain where you are. You feel inclined to obey. Will you give in to this inclination or press on? Turn to 60. Okay, so do like that. 371 or 60. Okay, on. Oh. Okay. And this is, which means that there's a paragraph 281, which is back in the real world. Do I have 281 anywhere? I don't think so. So that means that oh, I put the arrows in the wrong place now. Let's go. These are from here. And back in the real world to 81. So I'm going to do that over there, I think. Oh, wrong color. 281, real world 281. Like so. A bit curious about what happens if you actually give in to the inclination to come over to these yellow eyes. I might die now, but I'll save my game, and I'm going to go back to this point if that turns out to be the wrong choice, since I've only just started. So 371, I'm just curious what it is. As you gaze into the eyes, you become hypnotized and seem to fall into them, or rather through them. For a while you seem to float under a hot yellow sun. Then, as if you were an eagle in the sky, you look down on an awful scene. A strange people are camped in a fork between two shallow rivers. Their skin is coppery red in color, and out of the tops of their tents stick the ends of the poles which form the frames of the tents. Some people with lighter skin are bearing down on them on horseback. Sabers flash in the sun, and magic sticks deal death from a distance. Yeah. The image is brief but startlingly clear. You know that the red people will be massacred. And you know that scenes like this one have occurred and will occur again all over the surface of whatever world you are seeing. But that is all you have time to see and know before you are sucked back through the vortex, through a vortex. Turn to 331. Okay. So something's wrong with that description, obviously, because it's clearly referring to Native Americans being slaughtered by the Bluecoats. They were not. I mean, they are and are not red-skinned. Why they called? Were they called Redskins? Because they used red war paint and red ochre for decoration on their faces and bodies. Their skin was never red. Anyway. Also, that's quite a bizarre thing to put into this book. It's almost like they're sort of trying to moralize a little bit, be didactic. Why would you want to be didactic in a fantasy game book? It's actually breaching the realism of an immersion of the world of the book itself when you're actually putting in references to things happening in our world. One should never do that, like ever. Yeah, okay. And if you want to do it, you have to get it right as well. The skin was not red. Anyway, you find yourself walking in a garden where all is peace and tranquility. After your recent experiences, you are at first suspicious of such surroundings. Will you explore the garden or leave it? Yes, okay, so I have to put up here 331 on the map, 331, and then it's 139 or 303. 303 or 139. Let's see, explore or leave. I'll explore the garden, obviously, although it is sort of trying to give me a hint now, perhaps, that I shouldn't, by saying that you are at first suspicious of such surroundings. But there you go, I shall be the cat that gets killed, maybe. A stately woman, dressed in robes which constantly change color, greets you in the garden. She smiles upon you, introduces herself as Galana, goddess of plants and fertility, and gives you a message. This garden may be the last haven you find, but you must persevere, even when all seems hopeless. There are two ways you may defeat Ishtra. Both require considerable power, but one also requires physical artifacts to channel your power. You decide. You try to ask her what she means, but she is gone. Add one luck and one power point and turn to 303. So that sounds like a place you want to be. So I'm going to mark that as part of a correct path. And so that's a nice +1 lock, +1 power. Okay. So one requires this power, one requires power and items. So it is possible to do this without the items that I would have gathered on the way, clearly. Which means there's more than one correct path, possibly, in this book, which I don't like. I like it to be just one that is sort of the optimum correct path. Because that is the main puzzle of the book. Really, it should be. Anyway, 303. You look around for an exit, and immediately the garden vanishes. Instead, you find yourself among new and horrifying surroundings. You are in the gullet of some monster. How do you know? Whether you have become tiny or it is vast is irrelevant. At any rate, its gullet is like a living, pulsating tunnel to you. Presumably, behind you lies its stomach, but ahead lies its throat and mouth, and the possibility of freedom. That is the direction you take. But the gullet is infested with eel-like parasites which wriggle and nip and attempt to trip you up in the treacherous slime. Roll 2 dice for the parasites and then 2 dice for yourself. If the total is equal, continue until you get a result. If their total is more than yours, turn to 356. If your total is more than theirs, turn to 224. So, 2 options. And so that's 356 and 224. Okay. Excuse me, more less. Okay, I'm gonna roll that. So that's for, what does it say, for me or for them first? Yes, for them first. 7 and 8. So I have more than them. So that's 224. I go to. You leave the parasites behind and soon arrive at a fork. The gullet bears slightly to the left, and a narrow windpipe lies straight ahead. The fresh air coming down the windpipe is a great relief. Will you continue along the gullet or try the windpipe? Okay. The windpipe sounds like a safer bet if it splits off, because it wouldn't have teeth at the end that can chew you and swallow you back down if you, or a tongue and teeth that will sort of bring you back down. So we have here. So 115 or 163 windpipe gullet. And this is also a place where you can go back into the real world and go to paragraph 274. Do I have 274 anywhere? Does not look like I do. Oh yes, I do. 274. There it is. So that means that this leads to this up here. It's 274 it says, isn't it? Yeah, just double check that because my writing is so terrible. 24 goes to 274. Yes, so that's 274. So that's, I got a link between these paths now, which is always nice when you're mapping. Right, I'm gonna go up the windpipe. I'm gonna stay in the dream world for now and see what happens. 163. In real life, the windpipe is matched by a narrow tunnel. How would you know? Your sleepwalking body is unable to fend for itself in the rough tunnel. It falls. You wake up and become visible again. That's how you know. To 143. Which I do not have, interestingly, even though this one links there. Okay. So I'm going to have to make a separate one now for 143. 4, 3. The tunnel narrows considerably the further along it you go, and it's hard to keep your balance in the dark on the rough, unfinished floor. Oh, 143. I do have 143. Aha. Okay, so that is... Okay. So that means I'm back on the part of the map that I've been before here at the moment. So 143 right here. If you're carrying a two-handed axe, turn to 16. Otherwise, turn to 381. No axe. 381. The tunnel ends at a T-junction, where a broad, well-lit passage runs east and west. This is all you have time to notice for the moment, however, since you have to duck back into your dark tunnel to avoid a patrol of goblins. When they have gone past, will you follow them east or turn west? And this has got an asterisk, which means there's an associated dream passage, which I want to try, actually. So I'm going to go into the dreams again, see what happens there, because I have not done so before. You survey a bleak and dreary landscape. A river meanders past the foot of the hill on which you are standing. You go down to the river, but the water smokes like acid. You decide not to cross it. Will you walk left along the river or right? So, okay. Let's see. Blue, yeah, that's blue. And we want to go left or right. So 238 or 105. I'm going to go right, 105. You walk along with the river on your left. The river goes underground after a while, but there is still room to walk beside it. Will you follow the river underground or remain overground? So, okay, so that's 196 underground, 368. Oh, hang on, we got 368 already here. So 196 underground. I'm going to go underground, 196. The atmosphere underground is horribly oppressive. A stale smell rises from the river and gets gradually worse as you follow it along. The further you go, the more you become convinced that there is something horrible ahead. Well, there should be, really, because you are trying to seek out the demon Prince Istra and his evil minions. There should be evil up ahead all the time. The dark oppressiveness starts to squeeze your lungs. You feel as helpless as a baby lying alone before a hunting saber-toothed tiger. What's with all these saber-toothed tigers? Anyway, will you run back out of this tunnel or persevere? It's just a dream, isn't it? So it's not real. Yeah, well, it's semi-real in this case, but I'm going to persevere, I think. So I'm going to do like this. So 85 or 272. So that's leave and continue. 85. Suddenly the tunnel starts to move. The earth itself is heaving. The river seeps through cracks in the ground and disappears. Great rocks come crashing down, but none touch you. They are not meant to. The way ahead and behind is now blocked, but there is open air overhead. But an anger rock is slithering through this vent. Anger rocks are hell-spawned creatures which exist only in the dream world, until some sorcerer discovers how to bring them through to the real world. They are servants of the snake demon Sith. Interesting. Who values them highly among her pets. They are like huge snakes, but at intervals along their bodies, 4 legs sprout from either side. The legs are thick and hairy like a spider's, and enables the Angarok to leap surprising distances. Angaroks have no weaponry, no armor, claws, or teeth. They need none, for their very being is venomous. Anyone who comes near an Angarok will lose power. Their life force will be gradually drained off. Roll 2 dice. If you roll 2 to 7, the Angarok reduces your power by 2 points, etc., etc. But if you roll 8 to 12 3 times in succession, you may be able to escape from the monster. If you manage to do this, turn to 168. So Angarok, and then 168. So I'm not going to bother to roll this time because I'm past the point, as I said earlier, where that's going to be fun. So I'm just going to presume that I will manage to do this. And if I didn't do it and I was defeated or whatever, then I would just go back and do the same thing over again until I got it right. So yeah, doesn't really matter. I'm going to just read and enjoy my book now. If your power score is 18 or more, turn to 242. It might be, it might not be. Otherwise, turn to 94. I'm going to pretend it is, probably. I don't know what my power score is supposed to be now because I wasn't keeping track of what it was when I entered the tunnels. So, just for the purposes of enjoying the book, I'm going to say that it is more than 18, which it might have been, actually. So 242, 94. So that's power 18 plus or power less than 18. So 242. You are able deliberately to alter your dream to get out of the Angarok's sphere of influence. Turn to 377. Okay. 377. So even after, trying to escape it, you still have to escape it. You change your vision to what you feel most at home with, a forest. But this is like no forest you have ever seen before. Even the ruined forest around the entrance to Ishtra's lair seems, in comparison, a haven of health and peace. The trees here are not really trees at all. They are malignant growths, extension of the cancer which is the earth here. They scream in agony and beg you to put them out of their misery. Will you try to help, or block your ears and press on? Okay. If you're an elf, you shouldn't euthanize trees, should you? 200 help or 249 help. I'm going to press on, I think. 249. Still just a dream, so. You cannot block out the sound. It seems to come up from the ground through the soles of your feet, or to stem from somewhere inside your own mind. Well, obviously, it's a dream, isn't it? You try to sing a cheerful ditty to drown out the screams, but the words come out all wrong. You know that you are nearing your goal and that the terror of your nightmares is one of Ishtra's last defenses. You deliberately cross back into the real world, hoping to find brief respite here. Turn to 310. So we are back in the real world, and paragraph 310. You find yourself in a corridor with numbered doors on either side of it. To your left are doors numbered 11, 33, and 55. To your right are doors numbered 22, 44, and 66. Roll 2 dice until you roll a double and then try the appropriate door. Okay, that's... So if there's just one correct door, and then you have a 1 in 6 chance of getting it. If there's only one incorrect door, you have a 5 in 6 chance of not dying. We can also choose to ignore all the doors and walk on up the corridor, it says. Okay, anyway. Okay, so we got those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, and 66. And also, additionally, there's 217 up the corridor. But I'm going to roll the dice for the doors. So we got until we get a double. Did we get a double? I don't want to just pick one in this case. I just want to. Oh, come on. There we are, 55. Door 5 it is. The door is not locked. You open it and find yourself in a larder. You can restore 4 stamina points by eating some of the food. Then you can either try another door, or you can carry on up the passage. Okay, so that's +4 stamina. So I'm sure that indicates to me that some of these doors are positive things and some would be negative things, and it's a bit of a gamble which one you go with. I'm going to just go up the corridor in that case. I'm not going to look too much on the doors this time. Soon you reach a point where you could either turn left or carry straight on. You can hear the harsh laughter of some cruel being up ahead. How do you know a person is cruel? By the way they laugh. That's a bit prejudiced against the way people laugh, isn't it? But to the left, you sense a feeling of terrible doom. This is not an easy decision to make. Will you turn left or carry straight on? Okay. I'm going to move my options over here. Presuming now that there won't be any further paragraphs attached to these doors. 1, 5, 6, straight. 73. Left. I don't know if you can hear that, but somebody just started cutting some grass outside. I'm going to turn left. I'm going to do the door to the left. The further you go along this passage, the more you can sense great evil ahead. And it's really great evil because it's a capital E evil. So not just evil, but evil. So you think you must be nearing your goal. You come to a cave where, though there is nothing to be seen, the aura is so oppressive that you cannot move. It is like an impenetrable, suffocating blanket, but it writhes with an evil force, with a lowercase e in this case. And nightmarish images form in your mind. You feel your power draining away as you struggle to break through, and then your lifeless body drops to the ground. And it is the end. So, the end. Right, I'm going to do back to my previous save game, obviously, and do the other option, since I'm nearing my goal now. 1, 5, 6. I would like to get to the end so I can sort of get a better sort of understanding of what I have to do to win as well. The tunnel takes you straight to Istra's dungeons. The vile jailer, whose job it is to guard the cells, resents your intrusion. Well, why wouldn't he? Nobody comes here alone, not even an ally, unless they are asking for trouble. Shikara will try to pummel you unconscious, and then lock you up with her unfortunate wards until she has decided which one to have for breakfast. Shikara is a mutant ogre. Her mutation is her thick, scaly skin, which takes only 1 stamina point of injury. This is why she does not especially fear weapons and uses her fists against all opponents, however they are armed. You had better teach her to respect cold steel. Skill 8, stamina 8. So it's like stamina 16 really, isn't it? If you win, a peek through the grills in the floor convinces you that none of the prisoners are worth freeing. They would stab you in the back rather than assist you. You return to the last junction and turn right. Turn to 73, which is a place where you die, which means this is a dead end, which means it is the wrong path. And maybe one of these rolling doubles doors is where you get on, or maybe this whole section here is a dead end. That is possible. In any case, that means that it's a bit hard for me to roll back now because I don't know how far I should roll back to continue. Should I try the doors? I could try the doors. I'm just going to randomly pick one now. I'm going to pick door 11. The door is locked. If you have a key, you try it in the lock, but it does not fit. Lose 1 lock point. So lock -1, and then you still go to 217. If you want to, unless you want to try another door. Okay, so I'm going to try another door again. 22. Because I suppose you could just keep rolling until you actually get the door is locked. If you have a key, you could try it in the lock. Otherwise, you could try another door by rolling. So did I have a key? Do I have a key? I don't think I have a key. And I can't open a door without having a key, because that would be cheating. And cheating in a way that is not the time-saving kind of cheating. It actually means something that... So, yeah, so this one is locked. So if you have the key, I'll just make a note of that on the map then. So then we go to 359. Let's put the key, question mark. Let's try another door. I'm just going to keep trying all the doors now because I can actually. The door is open. Although it is cool throughout Ishtra's underground kingdom, you are met with a blast of cold as soon as you enter the room. This is the cook's freezer. The walls are solid ice, and carcasses are hanging from rows and hooks. You can identify some of the carcasses, but wish you couldn't. There is nothing here to interest you unless you want to take some ice. A fair-sized lump of this would keep for quite a while, wrapped in a strip torn off your clothing. For some reason, the room number 33 sticks in your mind. Okay, so number 33 is... Again, actually didn't have some 33 before. I didn't have a 33, so this may be a number clue, 33. So I'm going to make a note of that on the map. So it's ice. So number 33 clue. Like so. Next you can have... Okay, so I'm going to try another door. 44. The door is locked. If you have a key, you could try it in the lock, turn to 280. So another one where a key fits. So 280, so that's key. So maybe number 22 or 44 might be the way onwards. Possibly, because you might need the key to get there. 55 are done, so 66 is the only one remaining. The door is not locked, for the simple reason that the room is empty. You poke around for a while, but find nothing. When you come out, you are confronted by a squad of guards. You try to persuade them that you are a dark elf, but with legitimate reasons for searching rooms, but they're not convinced. You are frog-marched off to Ishtra's dungeons, where you will spend the remainder of your short life. And I think that's probably a good place to end it today, because now I know I have to find the key, which presumably is somewhere in the dungeons. Have I seen anywhere a key? I don't think I have. So you would think that a key is something that one of the guards might have. And also, the thing about the path I've taken now, because it, I'll have to continue next time. So you might think that the key is something that one of the guards might have, so it would be in the underground there. That's one thing. Another one is that the information given to me now when I entered the dungeon, or the lair, I suppose, is that it is possible to do the whole path either in the real world or in the dream world, but the path I followed today had a few sections where you're taken out of the dream world automatically. You don't have a choice in it, which means that it's not the correct path if that is the case, I'm guessing. So every time you are somewhere where that can happen, that is not part of the ideal path. Anyway, it might still be possible to get through, but it's not where you are supposed to go for an ideal playthrough. Anyway, I'll have to try again next time, and presumably I will start again from, because there's no indication of anything else being otherwise, that I can still try from entering the lair and then see where I go from there and make some other choices, and then see if that brings me any closer to my goal. I feel I'm really close now with these doors. if I only had the key. So I think the key is the key to getting onwards now. So I have to find out where is the key. Right. So that's all for today, I think. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. So goodbye for now.